Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is going to be a good video. We're filming here at Yard Gear in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and they give me complete access to the 2024 Norden 901. This is the Expedition. That's just the regular Norden 901. These are 2024s. There happens to be a 2023 sitting just over there. I've already done a video on that. But as I've gotten to know these bikes more and more, I'm more and more excited about them. So what we're gonna do in this review is I'm gonna give you a complete in-depth review of both these bikes sort of side by side. We're gonna do some comparisons back and forth so you can see some of the differences, but there's gonna be things that I miss, things that I leave out, things that I can't always get to. So if you have a question, if you're interested in these bikes and you just wanna know more, make sure you hit the subscribe button and do me a favor, leave a comment, whether it's a positive comment or a question that you have, and I'll make sure I get back to these because people here at Yard Gear here in Fredericton are awesome. They give me complete access. So when you have a question, I can come back to these bikes again and again and again, and we can make a video database of all the information that you want to know. Now we've got a bit of a busy shot here, lots going on. Normally I film outside, but it is the middle of winter. So we're going to pull the camera in really close so you can really see things well up close. And that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to try to show you some of the things the other videos aren't showing you. So let's get going. We're going to start over there with the 901 and come work to the Expedition next. So let's start by talking about what the Norden is. Now you may know that it shares a lot of components with the KTM brand. It's kind of like a sister brand of KTM, but there are some key differences between this and KTM's Adventure lineup. So for instance, the KTM has that 790 and 890 Adventure. 790 would not have adjustable suspension, the 890 would. 790 has a smaller engine, the 890 shares an engine with these ones. So there's kind of that little bit of overlay there. One of the key ways that, in my perspective, the way these are a little different is these are a little bit more road friendly than something like the Adventure R from KTM, but a little bit more high spec than the 790 Adventure on the KTM lineup. And that kind of puts it for me in that real sweet spot that I personally am a huge fan of, because although I love the idea of going off-road, to me, I don't have the skills to take a true adventure bike as far off-road as the bike can go. So to me, I want something that's really great on touring, and if I want to go down a dirt road or a trail or an uneven road or that kind of thing, I want to have something that gives me the confidence to get there. But again, a lot of my driving, even if I want to say I'm a huge off-road guy, which I'm not, a lot of my driving is going to be on the road, and that's where this bike does really, really, really well, but still gives you amazing capability on the road, especially with its electronics packages. So we're going to talk about some of those things on this bike, and that's kind of where it falls. So think of it as an adventure bike that's probably far beyond your skill, but maybe not as advanced as some of the top off-road adventure bikes, but it does give you some nice road abilities that some of the other adventure bikes kind of lose out on. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with the front wheel, work our way up. We're going to work our way around some of the features and options. We're going to talk about this windscreen because there's different on both. We're going to talk about some of the differences. We're going to talk about the technology. Let's start right down here. So if you've seen my videos before, you always hear me talk about how the front wheel gives you a really good idea of what the manufacturer's intent was with the motorcycle. So what you see here is Pirelli Scorpion tires. So again, these are really capable off-road, but they're not so dirt friendly that they're, you know, off-road bias. They're still on-road bias with a really capable off-road. So that's one thing to keep in mind. 21 inch in the front, 18 on the rear. It's the same whether you get the Expedition or this regular Norden here. And then you have the same brakes on both as well. Radial mount, 4-piston calipers, you've got dual discs, so good strong power, and you need that because the engine on these bikes are about 105 horsepower, which is a pretty good horsepower setting. Then you've got the adjustable forks in here. They are upside down forks. That's going to give you less unsprung weight. That's all about performance. We're going to talk about adjustment. They are different here than on the Expedition. So both of them are still adjustable, both still have that. There's a steering damper in behind there you can't see, sort of up out of the shot there. And then you do have, instead of having the high beak of some adventure bikes, you have the regular low style fender right here. So a couple little nice things to have, just to more of a traditional look than some of the other adventure bikes out there. But again, quality components. So taking a look at the heart of these bikes, the engine, you have a lot of things going on here. First of all, you've got a really open space here to the radiator. So what that does is it vents that heat off that radiator nicely, keeps it kind of away from the body. But again, a lot of openness. Now again, fairly smooth body lines here. A lot of bikes have a lot of jagged areas up here. But let's talk function. First of all, like I said, the engine is that 901 or, you know, just under 800 or just under 900 cc engine. It's a KTM engine. It says, there's no hiding that. They say that somewhere on there. It says KTM on there as well. It has a Husqvarna logo right there, but it is that same engine. And again, around 105 horsepower, so you've got plenty of power here. And then you have the fuel tank, and the fuel tank drops down here. So this is one of the key things that they do, both KTM and Husqvarna, on their bikes. They take that, you know, high capacity fuel tank. Instead of putting all the fuel up top, it drops down on both sides, and that does a lot of things for you. First of all, it keeps that center of weight low when the fuel tank's full. Out here, you've got some plastic panels on this bike. We're going to show you the steel protection plate that you can get on the Expedition model, which would be an option on here. You do have a steel piece underneath there on the very front, so right behind the wheel is steel, but this outside styling is sort of a plastic piece that matches that steel look. But again, the fuel tank here doesn't just lower the center of gravity. Because it takes some space out here, it also keeps some wind off of your body, off of your feet, that kind of thing. So it does give you a little bit better weather protection just due to the shape of it all. So again, lower weight or lower center of gravity anyways, which makes it feel like it's lower weight, and good wind protection all through this design with a strong, strong engine. So we're taking kind of an awkward look on the opposite side of the bike this time, and we're going to zoom into a few different things that, again, will be the same on the Expedition or this one here. So let's start, first of all, by looking at the foot pegs here. We're going to zoom down to those. Obviously, rubber inside of the metal grip, and of course, you can take the rubber out. So if you're in a lot of muddy situations, then you're dealing with just the the metal grip, which will give you a good grip, and then the rubber is going to keep some vibration off. If you look at the rear foot pegs, they are fully rubber there on both. Now we're going to scroll up here and we're going to talk about suspension, because suspension is different on these bikes, and that is a preload adjuster in the center of your screen right there. So if you load the bike up with a passenger or with an extra weight, you can adjust that preload right there by hand. It's a little different on the Expedition, so we're going to show you that piece there as well. And then we kind of zoom out here and we take a look at the seat. The seats are different on both these bikes. I don't know if you can kind of see in the background there. We can come up a little higher a little bit later, but we'll show you the seat on the Expedition as we get closer. Now this one here has a nice suede kind of look to it. It comes way up on the tank here, or on the let's just move that out of the way. So you can see it comes way up there. It does wrap around nicely. So if you're standing, kneeling, leaning forward, you've got a lot of room there to do that. But it's also a very comfortable, very wide seat. So one of the things that people praise this bike for is seat comfort. You can see on the back, it does look smooth here. Let's just actually just move the camera in here, and you can kind of see it is not so much of a smooth seat on the rear. It does have a pattern there as well. So a little bit grippiness to the whole seat, but especially in the rider's area. So this one, not heated. You do have the heated seat on the Expedition, which we'll show you in a second. Take a look at the face of this bike. You see a couple cool things. First of all, you got the traditional round style headlight. Again, you think about the Vitpillen lineup here, the real traditional style modern bikes from Husqvarna. You have that sort of round headlight. So that family tradition sort of continues on this bike. You also have the standard driving lights, and those driving lights, again, are those bright white projector style LED lights. So you've got really good lighting here, not just to see, but also to be seen, which is really quite nice. You've got the high beam on the sort of bottom half there. We'll flash that a little bit later in the video probably. Then you've got the LED turn signal lights up here, and then this particular bike has the traditional standard windshield here. So let's just turn those lights off there, turn it off here. You can sort of get a better view of the windshield. Now this windshield is a compromise, because if you're going off-road on an adventure bike and you lean way forward, you don't want a tall windshield that stands in your way. But that is, so that is why it's lower. So that's going to take the wind off of your body, but it's going to leave some wind on your helmet there. So what you can do is, if you want, you could upgrade, if you're more road focused, to the taller adventure windshield, which we're going to show you as we get to that bike in just a second, or the Expedition windshield there. So over here, a little bit lower windshield, but you do have options if you want to switch that. So as we move over to the Expedition, you can really see the difference in that windshield. Harder to show on camera, but much easier to show in person. You've got a lot of height up there and that little lip at the top. So hard to show again on camera, but it has an aggressive lip. It doesn't just go upright, it actually leans forward up there. And what that's gonna do is really help send wind over your head. Now you may be asking about the hole in here. A lot of bikes have holes in that windshield, and that's because a windshield of this size is gonna create some negative pressure behind. So you need to let some air flow through to keep you from sort of sucking and buffeting, sucking your body and buffeting the air down there. So that keeps the air clean behind the windshield by letting some air through, and it also sends the air over. So again, you have no pressure, no real pressure on your body, including keeping your head on your helmet, sends air over your helmet. So it's a real comfortable riding position. Again, when we talk about this being a touring machine, an all-day road comfort at speed, again, you got plenty of power to go above the legal limit, even on the highways. You also have the protection you need on the Expedition. And again, if you want this screen here, it is available as an option on the 901. So next thing I'm gonna do is sit across the bike. You get to see what that's like, and then we'll keep going through the Expedition model and talk about some of the extras on there, and then we're gonna dig into the dash. So jumping across this 901, the non-Expedition model, to me this one feels just a hair lower than the Expedition model. I haven't checked the specs because sometimes the specs can change or specs stay the same, and it's, you know, the way the seat is shaped. So we're just gonna hop across this. They do have different seats, but as we hop across here, typical adventure bike stuff, it is a taller bike. So I'm about 6 feet tall. The seat is fairly wide. It does narrow at the front, so you can easily touch the ground. But again, I'm still tippy-toeing. I can't go flat foot on either side. It's tippy-toe to tippy-toe for a proportional 6-footer. That's fine with me. One thing you do find though is this doesn't feel much more weight than a middleweight bike. It is very tall, but again, that fuel tank, sort of dumping that fuel down low, it does make a difference in feel. Now, I'm not gonna pretend this is a super light bike. This is probably not at all a beginner bike, but it is very manageable for a large looking you know, touring type bike. A lot of body work comes around here. It's going to help you with a lot of wind protection. You've got the hand guards that wrap around here. So again, if you drop something there, it's not ripping off your clutch lever, your brake lever, that kind of thing. You've got a 5-inch dash up here with a GPS spot above you that will still fit behind the lower windshield here. When we show you that, we're going to show it to you on the Expedition there. Mirrors are up high. They clear your shoulders. They are inside of here, so good space there. But again, very comfortable here. Your feet are actually a little back. Sometimes on adventure bikes are a little bit more forward, but they are a little back here, very comfortable, and again, allows you the ability to stand and get in front. And again, if you want to see that windshield, my helmet can kind of come into contact with that windshield. If it was the larger windshield, this one is just the smaller windshield, so you really have some maneuverability with that windshield if you want it. But yeah, comfort is excellent. A lot of space to move around on this bike. Very, very good. So jumping on the Expedition, again, different seat here. This is a heated seat, heated passenger seat as well. So I'm not sure if it's the shape of the seat or overall specs that make this one feel a little bit taller to me. Not a lot, but just about a little bit taller to my feel anyways. Again, putting my legs on there, same body position there. You can see the windshield here. So there you go, sort of an idea of where it hits. But again, that lip rolls it forward, which is gonna push air over. The vent letting things through. You can still fit a GPS underneath that vent on this one. So let's take a look at some of the dash stuff right there right now. But again, just a little tiny bit taller here than on the 901. All right, so we're looking at the dash here and that windshield on the Expedition. And one thing I want to show you as we sort of zoom in here is you can see remove for GPS mount. So again, you could throw your GPS there, and when you put a traditional GPS there, it's going to just clear, let me come back to the view, just clear this opening here. So you're going to have both of your regular 5-inch display screen and a typical probably 5 or so inch GPS that is going to clear, or 5 or 7-inch GPS I think you could probably do, because again, 5-inch screen is inside. The display would probably have a little bit wider bezels than the typical GPS. So point is, you put your GPS there and it's going to be tucked in nicely. There is a USB port right there, so you have power right there. There's also a USB, that's a 12-volt port on that side and a USB port on this side. So you've got power, everything you need right there. So USB-A, traditional old-fashioned USB right there, 12 volts right there. So all the power you need to have a clean wiring system for any GPS or phone mount if you want to do that. Let's take a look into the dash here. You got a little bit of glare. Remember, screens do not film very well on camera, but we're going to do the best we can with it. Just going to get the camera just adjusted a hair because I moved it. That should be good enough to see. Turn the key on and you have pretty nice display screen. So again, all of the colors here are going to be washed out. I haven't started the bike here, so there's a bunch of warning things that come up. For instance, there's a lot of fuel in it, side stands down, temporary unlocked. There we go. So there's your basic dash here. So you've got a lot of things in here, very European, like 0.9 kilometers. So it's actually 0.9. That's what they do. Sort of the European style type things. So we're going to go into some menus here. You can see the motorcycle menu. Let's just select that one. Ride modes is a big thing. So if you select that, you have a street mode, you have a rain mode, you have an off-road mode, and you have an explorer mode. Now the explorer mode can be unlocked. Again, bright yellow, clear here, harder to show on screen. But that's going to really let you customize things, including letting the traction control be sort of like 10 different levels of traction control. So you can really customize the traction control on a bike like this. And you got to keep in mind that even though I said this is a more on-road than some, the electronics really allow you to go off-road. I like the off-road mode. I think this is going to give most people everything you need without having to play with everything too much. But then again, that rain mode and that street mode, and that's just an example of some of the things that can be adjusted. For instance, your traction control and your slip control. So that's, let me just sort of show you. We'll go into here for a second. Traction control is on, traction control is off. So in other words, it lets that rear end slip out. So this is all lean sensitive. So when we talk about your ABS or something like that, it's cornering ABS. Easy shift, you have a quick shifter on this as well. Heating, let's just talk about heating. Remember you have the heated seats, so let's just jump in there. You can have the heated grips or the rider's seat. You can turn those on or off, so those are pretty cool. Again, heated grips and heated seat is standard on this Expedition, but optional. Pretty much all this stuff, if it's not on, is optional on the other bikes there. Lots of things you can see, and what I like about the display screen here is you can see your red line. It goes up to about 8,500 RPM there. You know, nice, easy to read tach. You've got a fuel gauge on the left side there, temperature gauge on the right side there. Actually, one thing I want to show you here, which is pretty cool, is just sort of as you take a look at the bike info. So what it's showing you there is there's some yellow and some red. So your battery is just a hair low. That's probably because I'm running it now without the engine running. Red means your fuel tank is low. If your fuel tank is full, that red is actually all your fuel tank. Remember I said it drops really low? So red is showing you that it's low. And then of course the blue out front. So again, harder to see on the view here, but the blue out front tells you that your cooling is too cold. So when the bike is actually good, it's going to be green, green, and green. Again, the yellow battery, not a big deal. Just I'm running this thing quite a bit without the engine running. Now, the other thing you'll notice is your speedometer is still visible when you're in some of these menus. So you can click through these while you drive. A lot of bikes make you stop to see some of these things. You know, got to be careful. There's time to stop to see them. But if you're just zipping through slow traffic or something like that, you don't have to take it out of gear. You still have your speedometer visible for a lot of these menus. You can still click through all kinds of things there. So again, you'll also see on your display screen your heated seat, your heated grips, if those things are on. So really cool stuff right there. And again, keep in mind, this is washing out on camera. Really clear, really bright red line there. Everything's really good. So what you see here is your ABS mode is set to road. Again, cornering sensitive, lean sensitive ABS. You've got your street setting there for your ride mode. So ABS is set to road, street mode for your ride mode, and your traction control is on. You can tell at a glance where everything's at. Speedometer on the bottom, gear shift indicator up top. We talked about the quick shifter. Let's just take a look at some of the electronic, the controls here to move through the screen. So one quick control, there is the button for those auxiliary driving lights, fog lights, whatever you want to call them there. That is the button, just simple and easy to push, nice big button there on the dash. The other thing, I don't know what this is for right now. I haven't really looked into that. If you own this bike, so don't guess at it, but if you own this bike and you know for sure what this is, make sure you let me know in the comments what that piece does. It does spin, I don't remember exactly what it does. In fact, I didn't probably look it up. I may know, but I forgot. Before we go look at controls, let's talk about suspension and then we'll work our way down to controls. So taking a look at the top of the fork tube here, you can see the left side fork tube is compression, and if we kind of scroll up on the bike to the right side, which is the red side, which is the red rebound adjustment. I don't know if you can see that as well. Let's try to zoom in there. But what we can see is these are hand adjustable clicks. I'm on the wrong angle to get to them, but they can be easily clicked from place to place, and it does give you an example of where they're set. So again, they are a little bit different on each bike. The controls work the exact same, but the suspension is different on each bike. So those are the controls from suspension wise and lighting here. Let's look at the handlebar controls as well. All right, worth pointing out here, the clutch is a slipper and assist clutch, so not that heavy of a clutch, and there is a little adjustment up here that's a knob like that that's gonna allow you to adjust that clutch lever or brake lever in or out. Now, a lot of people think that that is just for the different size hands that you have, but they can also change where that grab point feels on the clutch, so that's a nice little adjustment to have there as well. Over here, you got a push to turn on your high beams, standard headlights, and then a flash for high beams right there. Cruise control's up top here. This is, again, the same control on both. Now, I believe some of these things may have to have the extra package added to the regular 901, so while they do give you the control for it, you may have to pay for that extra cruise control package on the 901. We'll have to double check that, but I believe that's how it works. Down here is very simple to use controls. Let's just come down a little bit. Actually, we won't make a cut. We'll just kind of come down nicely on there. So those are your main controls here that I'm cycling through to control the display. And they're pretty clear and easy. So very easily tactile. Go back, go up and down the menus, and you select. So both set and select is the menu. So when I went to like bike info, I hit the set button, it goes into the menu. And then you can choose up and down through the menu, and then you can set or go backwards. Typical signals right there, typical horn down there, simple stuff. Taking a look at the throttle side, you see one thing that's new. So basically throttle right there, you've got the start and kill switch, and then you have the hazard warning lights. This was not available until 2024, which kind of blows my mind. It's adventure bikes, I really encourage people to look for that kind of thing. Because I think, you know, when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you stop on the side of the road to check a map, check a GPS, whatever, set a destination, having hazard lights kind of matters. So they just actually added this for 2024. It's one of the only visible changes you see in the 2024 model. Staying with the Expedition here, you can see the paint scheme up top. We sort of saw that throughout the video, but this again is an actual steel bar. So again, they had a sort of thinner steel piece underneath there on the regular 901 in the center section there, but it does wrap around your fuel tanks here. So again, a little bit more, you know, full strength everywhere on this model compared to, you know, sort of a thin steel piece in the middle and plastic decorative stuff on the side. So you do get that extra piece, and again, it does wrap all the way around underneath. The other thing that this one has is a center stand. You don't have that on the regular 901, comes standard here. Again, all these things are accessories if you want to just pick the pieces and parts out to make the 901 a version of the Expedition yourself, but that's all comes standard. So center stand, big bar here, and let's take a look at the luggage rack. So taking a top-down view of the Expedition here, I want to point out that the rack here and the handles here are the exact same on both units. Now, some people have said the exhaust is different, a little bit smaller on the 2024. I haven't seen that visually any difference to me. They look the exact same. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but they certainly look and feel the exact same to me. And then you have these soft bags here. So these soft bags are kind of roll-top bags. They're quite long in length this way, not huge this way, but again, they stay high up off the ground. So, of course, they come with the frame. So let's see if we can sort of point out the frame over there. They come with that framework there. You could probably attach all kinds of things there, but of course they're quick release to get these bags off, water resistant, probably waterproof the way most people are going to use them, and they do give you some options. And then again, this rack here is fully level with this big seat. So whether you get this sort of more luxurious seat on the Expedition or whether you get the other seat on the other model, you're going to have that nice level seat. So again, a lot of gear there, whether you want to get a top box or just stick big duffels, big soft bags right there. You've got a lot of space to use out here in front of that LED taillight. So nice luggage capacity on this bike. So who are these bikes for? And it's interesting because there is that sister brand with KTM. Well, to me, these bikes are for exactly like me. Yes, there is a bit more of a road focus to these than something like the KTM Adventure R, which this shares the engine with. But in no way is this thing at all incapable off-road. It's fantastic off-road. It steps up from that 790 from the KTM by giving you the bigger engine. It gives you complete adjustable suspension front and rear. And I didn't show you the rear preload adjustment. There is a rear preload adjustment on the Expedition model. Actually, that one's a tool one where the other one's a hand one here. But they both have great suspension and greater suspension. And they also hit sort of a value price point, at least here in Canada, here at Yard Gear, sort of bridging a gap that doesn't exist in the KTM lineup. The other thing is, I really like the styling of both KTM and Husqvarna, but some people really prefer this or really prefer that, and that may steer you one way or the other. What I like about these is the level of equipment that you get, even in this quote-unquote base model, the extra driving lights that are right there, the adjustable suspension, the power, the really comfortable seat, and then again, the ability to add a couple things. Heated grips, for me, the larger windshield to this model would make this model perfect, but if you want something that's great on-road and then also great off-road with that little bit better suspension, you really kind of have this Expedition model. And again, the Expedition model, maybe if you are taking off-road, you can switch this out for the lower screen as well, if that's going to be in the way of your head when you're leaning forward up a huge hill or jumping it or whatever it may be. For me, I'm not doing those kind of things. I'm not jumping so much, you know, the odd skipping, that kind of thing. But this gives you an all-day comfortable ride where you can plan a trip to anywhere and know for certain that regardless of the weather, again, if you're like me, you plan motorcycle trips months in advance, regardless of the weather, regardless of the road conditions, regardless of the lack of road conditions, you're going to be able to get down there and get down there safely. A couple cool design things like having that fuel tank down low. They really do feel light for the size. They're still tall adventure bikes. You're going to want some good boots, that kind of thing, if you're going to go on slippery terrain. But these are really, really good. And then the technology, having that cornering ABS with the cornering traction control, having that real ability to let the bike slip but still control in that off-road mode. So you can sort of steer with your foot pedal, if your right foot brake, you can steer with your throttle as well because you've got enough power. You can do all those things off-road while keeping electronics on. For so many bikes, you have to turn the electronics off to get that controllability that you want. These bikes are designed well with their electronics that allow you to do those things. The other things, simple things like GPS mounts, power points where they should be, you know, the round bars that allow you to put anything on the bars you want if you want a cell phone mount or something like that. So much practicality in these. And then again, the ability to add luggage. Even if you don't add the factory luggage, you've got the ability to add any kind of luggage that you want to this. Take everything you would want with you. They are really cool do everything bikes. And the other thing that's worth pointing out is you still have great horsepower. Over 100 horsepower on a bike like this is not really that common, especially in this price point. So cruise control, not at this price point usually. That much power, not at this price point usually. You have all of those things built into this bike, and that's what makes this bike really interesting to me, who really likes the idea of one bike that can do everything. So let me know what you think. If you like these bikes, let me know your experiences with them in the comments below. And if you have questions, make sure you ask me those as well. If you've made it this far in the video, do me a favor, subscribe. We're gonna come back to these bikes. We're gonna get them out. We're gonna talk about them outside in a proper environment, not just in this showroom in the middle of winter. These are the 2024s. There's still a 2023 here at Yard Gear. If you're interested in pricing and it's up-to-date pricing, check out the link in the description. That's Yard Gear's website. They'll give you a pricing right online. And if you have any questions, you can ask them. But again, feel free to subscribe, let me know in the comments, and we'll get back to these bikes again and again. Thanks everybody for watching.